Hi, Greg Alderman. Welcome to One Voice Board. Today we're going to talk about Principle 10 of the Principles of Governance, Information and Reports. As we usually do, let's get into it with a question. So whether you're by yourself or with a group, I want you to think about this question. Pause when you get the chance. What does the board need to know? Now, I've served on a lot of boards, and I've sat through a lot of meetings. And I can tell you one of the things that really irks me when I sit in a board meeting is when a board starts chasing trivia. Now, you might think, well, what's trivia? Well, trivia is anything that gets away from the main thing. Trivia can be becoming obsessed with the process or the means by which something is done. Trivia can focus on being involved in management and control of activity and behavior. It can become obsessive about things that its policy has already spoken to. For example, you have a budget for a reason. Those budget guidelines provide boundaries from within which the staff, your staff, the staff that belongs to the board, can authorize expenditures. But if we're constantly micromanaging those expenditures, we are getting involved in trivia. And quite often, to be honest with you, most boards have a smaller group, an audit committee, or some kind of one or two individuals who work with the staff in overseeing expenditures and budget policy. So what are we looking for as a board? What kind of information does the board really need to know? Well, I'm going to talk about these three things in order of importance. Number one is decision-making information. The senior pastor or the executive director needs to be responsible to the board to get information to it so that it can make reasonable decisions about goals and policies. That's the bottom line. That's the most important part of the job. Decision making, because there are things that only the board can do. And if the board is not focused on those big bowls over those small bowls, in order to make decisions, the rest of the organization stagnates and even goes into decline. So if the board is not making decisions about the things that it can only make decisions about, it's inevitable that either stagnation and decline happen or, at worst, conflict. So I want you to think about what kind of information involves decision-making information. It might involve statistics. It might involve observing decisions about philosophy changes or implementation changes that need to be made by the organization itself. So these are the kind of things that the board needs most importantly, making decisions about goals and policies. The second part of the information that the board needs is monitoring information. This should make perfect sense. When you think about accountability principles, if we are going to hold our chief executive or our senior pastor accountable, then we are going to be monitoring, we're going to be paying attention to whether or not the senior pastor or the chief executive is leading the organization to achieve what we all say we want to do. So are our goals being achieved? Are the boundaries being obeyed? These are the things the board is interested in, and that is what monitoring information is all about. And then the third point is information of interest. Now, I want to say a few things about information of interest. It can be information about any interesting thing going on in the organization, but I want to make a bold statement here. It's really not important to the work of the board, although the board thinks this is the most important thing. You see, one of the great dangers for most board members is they think they have a responsibility on behalf of the membership, especially in a church, to know everything going on in the organization. I used to say to my board members, anytime that question came up, I only know about 15% of what's going on, but I know how to find out more than 95% of what's going on by going to the person responsible for the thing you're interested in. You see, there's lots of cool things happening in your organization, but you shouldn't consume board time focused on information of interest when there are more pressing matters to deal with, like determining goals and passing good policy that directs the behavior of the organization. Information of interest, of course, is inspiring. It's encouraging. Hearing testimonies, hearing things that are going on in the life of your organization, your church. These things inspire us and encourage us to know that we are doing the right things. But The most important information we need is information to make decisions and then to monitor what's going on in the organization. That's principle 10. Hey, if you want to talk more about what this means for your work in your church or your organization, don't hesitate to reach out to me at greg@onevoiceboard.org.